Wow, that's really, really special. Thank you, delegates. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we're gathered today and pay my respects to their elders past and present. This is and always will be Aboriginal land. Delegates, comrades and friends, it's with mixed emotions that I stand here before you to accept this unbelievable accolade on behalf of John Kaye. It's moments like these that I find a huge amount of not just comfort, but also courage, inspiration, and determination that John's public education legacy endures. I want to express our immense gratitude from John's partner of 30 years and public school teacher and Federation activist Lynne Joslyn, and I want to acknowledge Lauren Walden, my fellow long-term staffer in the office of John Kaye. We are really grateful for the work that's gone into this award and thank Federation for choosing John as its first recipient. A number of honours and tributes have flowed John's way since his death. The TAFE TA conferred on him life membership. Unfortunately, he was unable to fight his devastating cancer for long enough to accept it in person. But the news of that life membership gave him enormous pleasure in his final days. He neither sought nor needed accolades, but this award today would have meant a lot to him. His work in support of public school and TAFE systems went right to the core of everything he believed in: fairness, equality and inclusivity. He inspired many of you here today. The feeling was mutual. For him, there were no better activists for a stronger, fairer Australian society than public sector teachers. I worked in John's parliamentary office for over 5 years, and I first met him in 2004 when I was a 21-year-old Greens candidate. It was at a public education forum run by Federation, and the organiser was one Jenny Diamond, who I think you might know. A treasured memory for me is a couple of years ago when John and I drove home from a Greens New South Wales State Delegates Council meeting. We were tired, and John turned to me and said, "We did something bloody good today." What was it that we did? We went through a long process of changing the Greens New South Wales education policy in two significant ways. We advocated for the end of state government funding of non-government schools, not just the wealthiest, and for the abolition of the teaching of special religious education or scripture in public schools. And both of those policy changes have been accepted. John particularly enjoyed travelling around the state, meeting teachers in TAFE and schools. He got up at 4 a.m. to do statewide radio, then a breakfast meeting, then a morning rally, then an afternoon rally, several media interviews, and an evening event. And every 30 minutes he called to check on breaking news, dictate media releases, and discuss details of the next course and staff cuts of the next TAFE on his itinerary. He was across it all. There are days when I feel his loss more than others. The state budget 2 weeks ago. John must have been the only person in New South Wales, bar the Treasurer, that looked forward to the state budget. Unfailingly, he would head directly to the same page every year: growth in non-government school funding. He'd shake his head and mutter some swear words. Next, he'd look at TAFE's recurrent budget, cue more swear words. Adrian Piccoli told Parliament that John would have made a great education minister. What a glorious and inspirational vision. That's one that we should never ever give up on, because John didn't. He took on powerful lobby groups and he stared them down with his typically analytical and inspirational style. He got under the skin of fundamentalist Christian groups, of elite private school headmasters like Tim Hawkes. He was in regular debates with Stephen O'Doherty and Jeff Newcomb, and boy did he give Pearson Education the shits. All because John believed that education was not a commodity and that every student deserves to sit in a classroom with their peers from their local community, with high-quality facilities and qualified teachers, free from religious indoctrination. John was a mentor. He always accepted requests for interviews from student journalists and Young Greens volunteers in his office, and he admired greatly Federation's commitment to mentoring new teachers and new activists, and I was one of those. So allow me to give a shout out to all the teachers in the New Educators Network, especially those in NEN 6. And finally, a shout out to a life member who is, I hope, in the audience today, Maureen Davis-Cattrall, because Maureen and I spent some time together on pre-poll at Hurstville on Thursday, I think it was, and she had spent over 70 hours till Friday at pre-poll trying to convince marginal seat voters in Barton to vote for education. Look, that's dedication, and I'm very pleased to say that Barton is now free of Liberals. So John would really have applauded that effort, Maureen, and he would have applauded you all. May we continue to find inspiration in John's legacy as a true public education champion. Thank you very, very much.